Senator Scott Dibble joins me now to talk about why he believes Minnesotans should vote no for the marriage amendment. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Julie. Thank you.
Let's begin, Senator, with 31 states in the United States currently have constitutional amendments that ban legal recognition of same-sex unions. So in Minnesota, polling on this issue is close. Most indicate the amendment does have the support to pass at this point. So do you believe still that Minnesota will be the first state to defeat this measure?
Oh, I absolutely do. And actually, I don't think most polls show that it will pass. One poll shows, it's two that have come from the same source, and that particular poll is shown to be fairly deeply flawed. But every other public poll and every other internal poll that I'm familiar with shows a narrow edge for those who are opposed to the amendment. I think Minnesota will be the first one to defeat an amendment like this for a couple of key reasons. First of all, this is Minnesota, and we often are in a position of leading the nation on these issues of really extending freedom and embracing diversity and making sure that everyone has the right to enjoy the freedoms that are guaranteed in their Constitution. We've been that kind of state for many generations now, and something I'm very proud of. It's been just over 18 months since the legislature decided to put this on the ballot, and in that time the coalition that has come together to oppose this really crosses all ideological and political and geographic and demographic boundaries. We see a coalition that's over 600 organizations strong. More than 25% of those are represented by communities of faith. You see Republicans standing up, people from the Independence Party, the Green Party, Democrats, people from big business, from labor, every sector of Minnesota life, folks standing up saying, we have a common set of values in Minnesota. Marriage is fundamentally about commitment and love and responsibility, the ability to protect our families. We have freedoms that are guaranteed in our Constitution. It should not be made illegal to marry the person you love. And in Minnesota, we treat everyone with dignity.
And Senator, there seems to be a lot of information and misinformation out there about what this amendment would or would not do. How would you encapsulate it?
Well, basically what it would do is it would be very hurtful and very divisive, and it would make it illegal to marry the person you love forever. It would forever take away the ability for subsequent generations to have this debate and this discussion in front of the legislature, and it wouldn't create marriage because marriage is currently illegal in our statute books, but it would kind of shut down that conversation. We know that people are beginning to understand fundamentally that their values are supported and affirmed when people are able to form strong families, and it would prohibit that from happening in the future.
And as you just mentioned, it currently is illegal for same-sex marriages in the state of Minnesota. So if this amendment is indeed defeated, what impact do you think there would be if the law remains intact?
Well, that remains to be seen. It's hard to predict. That would have a lot to do with the composition of the legislature. But I definitely believe that the tide of public opinion is moving in a direction that really supports and affirms all families. To have some form of legal relationship to each other, ideally that's marriage, or some, but the ability to further develop other sorts of just the basic foundation, the economic platform on which we build our families and be able to take that responsibility for each other, protect each other. I think we would see movement in that direction.
Senator, this is of course a very personal issue for you. You are involved in a same-sex marriage. So for you, what does this mean, and how have you been able to absorb the fact that some of the colleagues on your floor on the Senate floor feel so polar opposite as you on this issue? Right.
Well, I have to admit, Julie, that it's been painful and it's been very difficult. We are in the legislature, and the issues we work on are about the people we represent and the larger state and the legacy that we leave, and my personal friendships and my personal feelings are really secondary. But in this instance, it's hard, and I'm able typically to reach across the aisle and work with a colleague from another party on this issue and oppose them strenuously on that issue, and that's how the work gets done, and it's based on our relationships, even though our relationships at the end of the day aren't the things that are going into the history books. It's the statutes and the policies and the priorities and the values that we uphold. But this one's been a little more difficult because fundamentally, at its core, I have colleagues, even colleagues who say they support me and Richard in our marriage, who have taken a stand to exclude us entirely from our state's constitution, to exclude us entirely from our ability to enjoy the protection and the benefits of the Constitution, and they don't get to do that. That's guaranteed to me, that's guaranteed to Richard, because we're citizens of this state. And so they're saying that somehow or another we're less worthy, we're secondary. It's very hurtful, it's very painful, and it's kind of a metaphor for exactly what would happen if this constitutional amendment were to pass. It's very divisive. It's saying, I get to vote on your marriage. Well, who wants their marriage voted on? You know, this is not what our state is about.
Those who support the amendment essentially states that it would protect the sanctity of marriage. How important is it to you to have that title, that recognition of marriage, as opposed to, say, civil union? Would you be content with civil union? Well,
my response to that question is, would you want to trade your marriage for a civil union? And would you want your marriage voted on? You know, in every sense of the word, Richard and I have come together because we fell in love and wanted to build a life together, and wanted to invite our friends and family into supporting that. My sister just got married on Saturday, and it was an amazing and wonderful and affirming celebration. Richard and I got married 4 years ago, and even though I have the greatest family in the entire world who loves Richard, they love our relationship, and they've been so supportive and so affirming, when we had that opportunity to have that ceremony, you know, that tradition that so many people are familiar with, able to step forward and say, this is who we are, and this is who I love, and we invite you to be a part of it. It was transformative to my family. Suddenly they had a vernacular and an understanding and access to who we were as a couple in our relationship that just simply wasn't present before.
Senator, we are just about out of time, but here's your opportunity to speak to our viewers. And why do you think they should vote no?
Well, if for no other reason, just understanding that voting no affirms and supports the basic values that we all cherish and prize: love, commitment, family, strong communities, freedom guaranteed in our Constitution, and treating each other with dignity the way I would expect to be treated.
Senator Scott Dibble, with those words, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Julie.